Which brings me to the second key message that I wanted to make here about information portals, because we've just seen that transparency is a big pain point, obviously. And one of the mechanisms that is used and that also international donors like a lot to counter missing transparency are information portals. What I mean by that is, for instance, this is a screenshot. If you type in Irpin into the Dream portal, which is one of those websites where basically communities are required to upload data on reconstruction projects, and then you can see if you click on these yellow circles, you can see the different projects that happened. In this case, in Irpin. And you can see the progress. You can also see where the money comes from and what the project horizon, for instance, is. And as you can also see just from this small screenshot, this is something that is well supported by international funders. And indeed, I think they are very much interested in this kind of transparency mechanism. I encourage you to go into this website and play around with it. It's very interesting. At the same time, we asked people if they use these kind of portals. And there, the respondents in our survey, again, a very big majority of them said that they don't use them, but they know them, or they don't use them because they don't know them, and they didn't know them, which again highlights that whilst these portals might be technically impressive and interesting and valuable in terms of data transparency, they don't really seem to reach the local populations. At least in the case of Irpin, they clearly don't. And then you can even ask the question what the primary purpose of this is. I've shown you how popular these portals are amongst international donors, and I think from a critical perspective or from a provocative perspective, you could even ask the question: do they really serve the local populations, or do they serve the international donors who want to show that they are investing in transparency? I'm just gonna leave this here without providing you with the final answer, but definitely the data shows that at least in the case of Irpin, these portals aren't really used in the way that perhaps we would hope for. Whilst this was now a very negative message, I also wanted to give you one hopeful, positive message at the end, which is that we can definitely see a positive trend in horizontal social cohesion. So we've talked about this difference between trust between state and citizens and just trust between citizens themselves. And regarding the latter, we see a different result in the survey. And we can actually see that there is a majority of people in Irpin that say that they feel more united than before the outbreak of the full-scale invasion. There's also a majority that says that they're more likely to help one another than before that. And then there's also another majority that says that they feel more trust towards one another than before the outbreak of the full-scale invasion. And this is something that indicates that horizontal social cohesion is very much still intact. And you can even make the argument that it has been strengthened. And what we found then in the qualitative element of this research, where we talked to people in Irpin and reconstruction stakeholders, is that the kind of localized, informal, bottom-up engagement where people come together, in many cases informally, to at the beginning clear debris and get first quick fixes done, but then later also to talk about fixes to their communities or helping one another with reconstruction. That these kind of engagements that they are what I would call a strong cohesion booster. And one of the reasons for that is that they invite participation. People express agency in that. Obviously, this doesn't get you a bridge done. For that you or build for that you still need a company and a big investment. But what we saw in the research is that this kind of peer-to-peer bottom-up participation in reconstruction, whilst it doesn't fix massive infrastructural needs, it induces trust into the overall reconstruction process by participation. And so I think this is a learning that is quite interesting for us, and that I think also can inspire us to ask how we can scale up on these kind of cohesion-inducive elements. Which brings me to the recommendations that I would like to leave you with. The first one is that we should avoid drawing lessons from civil wars. I mentioned that academics and practitioners, much of our knowledge is based in other contexts. And our data very clearly indicates that it doesn't always travel well. And so the kind of answers that we've derived from other contexts, they don't always work for this particular context. The second one is that I would argue that we should actually prioritize visible and accountable results over these portals that I've talked about. We asked residents of Irpin what would be something that would make them trust in reconstruction more. And many said that it would be visible results, and that those results are also communicated to them in a way or in communication channels that they actually already use. So local media, social media, Telegram, all of these kind of things. And then the third one is that we should start thinking about how to scale horizontal cooperation, because as I just mentioned, it is strongly cohesion inducing. And whilst it does not fix the big infrastructural needs, it can do a real contribution to the people-to-people ties, which are quite important also, as Konstantin mentioned earlier. And with that, I will leave it for now. If you want to read the study, then you can download it right here. And yeah, I'm looking forward to any questions or comments.